Today we're making some very interesting tarts with blueberries and passion fruit. These are tarts I make in my lab too, but just for you I've tweaked and improved the recipe a little bit. Hi, I'm Robert and today we're making blueberry tarts, and from today's recipe we'll get about 12 tarts. We start with the tart dough, for which I placed 250 grams of flour, 20 grams of cornstarch, 85 grams of powdered sugar and 20 grams of almond flour in a bowl of a stand mixer. I mixed them well, then grated in 130 grams of cold butter. Now, using the paddle attachment, I'm going to mix everything on the lowest speed until we get a very sandy consistency. When the mixture has the look of damp sand, pour in one egg that I've slightly beaten and mix again on low speed, just until the dough starts to come together. Don't overwork the dough because we want the butter granules to stay slightly separated from the flour. This is the texture you're aiming for, the dough almost forming into a ball of its own, and will help it come together and then chill it for a few hours. My recommendation is to form the dough into a flat disc, not a ball, because the disc chills faster and you'll be able to work it sooner. But it still needs to rest in the fridge for at least 4 hours until it feels very firm to the touch. While the tart dough is chilling, we'll work on the main cream for these tarts, a blueberry namelaka. In a small bowl, I hydrated 5 grams of powdered gelatin in 25 grams of cold water and let it sit for about 10 minutes to bloom properly. Then I added 200 grams of warm blueberry puree. That way, you don't have to melt the gelatin separately. It dissolves directly into the warm puree. Mix well to fully dissolve the gelatin, then pour the puree over 370 grams of white chocolate, which I recommend melting ahead of time or melting directly in the container I used for blending. I'll use an immersion blender, which works best when the liquid level is high and the container is narrow and tall. That's why I use this tall plastic jug. Blend everything very well, and then, while blending, slowly add 400 grams of cold heavy cream. Transfer the namelaka to a bowl or any container you have, cover with plastic wrap, and refrigerate for at least 6 hours to stabilize. For the second cream in these tarts, I thought I'd upgrade them a bit, so just for you we're making a passion fruit and mango curd. In a larger bowl, I mixed together 3 egg yolks, 1 whole egg and 50 grams of sugar with a whisk. Then I poured 105 grams of passion fruit puree and 42 grams of mango puree that I had heated together in a small saucepan. Place the bowl over a double boiler and stir continuously with a spatula until the cream thickens well. Once the curd is still hot, I added a half sheet of gelatin, large leaf prehydrated, and stirred to dissolve it. Then added 64 grams of soft or cold butter and stirred again until fully incorporated. As with the namelaka, transfer the curd to a bowl or container with a lid and refrigerate it until you're ready to use it. Once the tart dough has chilled thoroughly, it needs to be rolled out between 2 sheets of parchment paper to a thickness of about 2 mm. I cheated a bit here and used the dough sheeter at the lab, but if you don't have one, you'll need to roll it out manually with a rolling pin. After rolling it out, chill it again because the rolling process softens and warms the dough. Chill it for about an hour. Since it's thin, it'll cool down fairly quickly. I'm using tart rings that are 7 cm in diameter and 2.5 cm high. So I cut strips of dough 21 cm long and 2.5 cm wide and placed 1 strip inside each ring to form the tart walls. I pressed and fixed the dough against the ring with my fingers, and then I cut out circles of dough using the same rings. I placed the tart ring with a side strip on a dough circle, press it down to connect them, and reinforce the seam by pressing against the base joint. Then I use a small knife without serrations to trim the excess dough with an outward motion. That's how each tart shell should look. We'll get 12 or however many you can make. Once they are formed, Chill them again for 1 or 2 hours so the dough forms up. Then bake at 140 Celsius for 15 minutes. After baking, I'll show you how to tidy them up a bit, and we'll bake them again for another 13 minutes, but we'll get to that. My advice is to bake them on a micro-perforated mat, like the ones used for eclairs or choux pastry. That way you don't need to poke holes in the tart base to let the air out. The air escapes through the mat. After the first 15 minutes of baking, remove the tarts from the oven, take off the rings and let them cool slightly. Then, using a fine grater, gently shave off the top edge to even it out and make it look nice and straight. Now with a brush, I'm applying a very thin coat of mixture made of egg yolk and heavy cream, 1:1 ratio, 1 yolk and about 16 to 20 grams of cream. Brush the mixture on the sides and outside of the tart shell. This will create a shiny finish and a protective barrier that prevents the tart shell from becoming soggy when filled with creams. That's how they look after the second baking. Of course, if you want, you can skip these steps, no grading or brushing, and just bake the tart shells for 25 minutes at 140 Celsius with fan, and they'll be nicely baked, but they won't have the glossy finish. Now that the tart shells have cooled and the fillings are ready, I'm adding about 25 grams of the passion fruit curd to each tart. Add 2 or 3 blueberries to each tart. If they're small, use more. If they're big, 2 or 3 is enough. Press them slightly into the curd so they stay put. Put the namelaka into the piping bag. I'm using a very large, round piping tip. And it's simple. Each tart gets 1 dollop of cream. Then I'll top each tart with a single blueberry and that's it. That's how our tarts turned out. Hope you liked them. Leave me a comment to let me know how yours came out, or tag me on Instagram with pictures of your versions. For more recipes like this, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to my channel and follow me on Instagram for lots of useful tips.